Girivarada Sudanandana Raja Janaram Jana Sudanandana Raja Janaram Jana Janatira Panachara Tira Panachari Jayarada Madhava Jabi Jayarada Madhava Jabi Bijanavali Sudanandana Raja Janaram Sudanandana Raja Janaram Janatira Panacha Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Good morning, Bruce. Devotees. We are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam today, as we usually do. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottama Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayat Nasta Prayesva Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. So we are in the 5th canto, 3rd chapter. Verses for today number 18 and 19. And as this sages, Brahmins spoke in prose, not in poetry. I'm not gonna do a cadence, a meter, melody, just the text. Tata Agni Driyem Sa kalaya vatarasyami atma tulyam anupala bhamana. The synonyms. Tata, therefore, Agnidriya in the wife of Navi, the son of Agnidra, Amsa Kalaya, by an expansion of my personal form. Avatar Ishyami, I shall advent myself. Atmatulyam, my equal. Anupala Bhamana, not finding. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Since I cannot find anyone equal to me, I shall personally expand myself into a plenary portion and thus advent myself in the womb of Meru Devi, the wife of Maharaj Navi, the son of Agnidra. And the purport Prabhupada says, this is an example of the omnipotence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although he is one without a second, he expands himself by Swamsha, his personal expansion, and sometimes by Vibhinamsha, or his separated expansion. Lord Vishnu herein agrees to send his personal expansion as the son of Meru Devi, the wife of Maharaj Navi, who is the son of Agnidra. The Ritvija, the priests, knew that God is one, yet they prayed for the Supreme Lord to become the son of Maharaj Navi, to let the world know that the absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is one without a second. When he incarnates, he expands himself in different potencies. Verse number 19. Shishuka vacha iti nisham mayantya merudevya patim abidha yantardhadhe bhagavan. Synonyms. Sri Shuka Vacha, Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, iti, thus, Nishamayantya, who was listening, Merudevya, in the presence of Merudevi, Patim, unto her husband, Abhidhaya, having spoken, Antardadhe, disappeared, Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Translation. Shukadeva Goswami continued, after saying this, the Lord disappeared. The wife of King Navi, Queen Merudevi, was sitting by the side of her husband, and consequently she could hear everything the Supreme Lord had spoken. Purport. According to the Vedic injunctions, one should perform sacrifices in the company of one's own wife. Sapatniko dharmam acharyat. Religious rituals should be performed with one's wife. Therefore, Maharaj Navi conducted his great sacrifice with his wife by his side. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmeditam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karu Divachalam Pangum Nangayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanyam Ishwaram Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva Cha Patitanam Pavanivyo Vaishnavivyo Namo Namaha. Now let's begin a little bit before this. As in a previous verse, in verse 17, Prabhupada is talking a bit about sound vibrations and how the Brahman's sound vibrations cannot be nullified or changed in any circumstance. According to Vedic injunctions, the Brahman is the mouth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the Brahman is offered food, and it's as good as Krishna eating, and the Brahman is speaking, it's as good as Krishna speaking. So, the word is taken very seriously. It's not like, yeah, I'll call you, or hey, we should get together. The very typical American exchange. Oh, I've been thinking of you, but I'm not gonna. I'll do it. I'll contact you, and it never happens. This sort of loose talk is not accepted, especially among Brahmins. Now the Vaishya can lie for business purposes, and the Kshatriya can lie in order to gain advantage over an enemy, and the Shudra can do anything. But the Brahman is restricted by his own sense of righteousness and morality. Therefore, the word is taken very seriously. We have an example from the Mahabharata when the Pandavas were in exile. They were actually in Ekachakra, living in the house of a Brahmin. And I think that was a circumstance. I think they were living in Ekachakra. And they will go collect alms like Brahmins do, because the Pandavas, even though they were Kshatriyas and they were not mortals, they were mortals, but in a different sense, as they were half gods, all of them. The Nakul and Sahadeva were half Ashwini Kumars, and Bhima was half Vayu. His father was the wind god. And I was showing Divya a video of in reference to Bhima, because Bhima was the most powerful of the most fearful of the strongest, actually, of the Pandavas. And why was that? Because he was the son of Vayu. So I show Divya just a little tornado in Texas, and the video shows that the tornado is barely visible. It's like a little wind coming. I mean, you can see a little funnel coming from the sky, but not all the way to the ground. And you can see just a little wind next to a warehouse. And then as the tornado moves, it just picks up houses. We're talking about a suburb where 4-bedroom houses with 2-car garages. They're like picked up and disintegrated immediately up in the air, and just goes and does a whole row of houses. So this is who's the one controlling that. Imagine how powerful he is, and his son Bhima as well. And Yudhishthira was the son of Dharmaraj, and Arjuna was the son of Indra. So these weren't ordinary mortals, and their wife was born out of a fire sacrifice. So these are not ordinary people. And you can see that when they came back they will come back from begging alms and to maintain themselves, because they were in disguise. And because they grew up with yogis and Brahmins, they knew how to dress themselves in such a way that they wouldn't be recognized, because they had to be, they were in exile. And one day they went to a Swayamvara ceremony for Draupadi, and they got her. So when they came home, Kunti was not looking at them, and I can't remember who. I think it may have been Yudhishthira. That's her mother. You won't believe what we got today as part of the collection. And Kunti, without looking, said, whatever it is, divide it among your brothers. And there was a complete silence. And then Kunti turned around and saw this beautiful maiden, Draupadi, and the Pandavas, they kind of nervously laugh and say, oh, well, it was just a joke. And Kunti took that very seriously, because her word, because she was a Brahmin, because her word was everything. She spoke, cannot be taken back. And even Yudhisthira, the son of Yamaraj, said, no, well, sometimes when spoken in jest, and Kunti rejected that. So this is how important one's word is. That so that's why these things are laudable, because it declares truthfulness and commitment, and many things that nowadays are forgotten. It just like the rulers are just a bunch of dirty politicians with no morals, no scruples, that they lie as much as they can get away with. So this is a preamble to the point of the Lord accepting this prayer, but he qualifies it. He said, there is no one equal or superior to me. So I'm one without a second. So the sentence, what you requested to be someone like me, there's no one like me. So I will expand myself, and then that way we can make it happen. So there are different grades of forms, Swamsa and Vivinamsa. So the Swamsa expansions are Vishnu Tattva. They are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the Vivinamsa are Jiva Tattva. They are part and parcel of the Lord. There's a quote from a 10th canto, and goes like this. This is Srila Prabhupada. There are different grades of forms known as Swamsa and Vivinamsa. The Swamsa expansions or Vishnu Tattva are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whereas the Vivinamsa are Jiva Tattva, who are part and parcel of the Lord. And there's a quote of a 15:7 Bhagavad Gita, Mamayvamsa Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. So in the first chapter of the 10th canto, verse number 56, here is a translation and purport. Each year thereafter, in due course of time, Devaki, the mother of God and all the demigods, gave birth to a child. Thus she bore 8 sons, one after another, and a daughter named Subhadra. In the purport, the spiritual master is sometimes glorified as Sarva Deva Mayo Guru. By the grace of a guru, the spiritual master, one can understand the different kinds of devas. The word deva refers to God, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the original source of all the demigods, who are also called devas. In Bhagavad Gita 10.2, the Lord says, Aham adirhi devanam. I'm the source of all the devas. The Supreme Lord, the original person, expands in different forms. Tad aikshata bahusham. That's from the Chandogya Upanishad. He alone has expanded into many. Advaitam Achyutam Anadiram Antarupam. That's Brahma Samhita 5:33. There are different grades of forms known as Swamsa and Vivinamsa. The Swamsa expansions or Vishnu Tattva are the Supreme Person of Godhead, whereas the Vivinamsa are Jiva Tattva, who are part and parcel of the Lord. If we accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and worship him, all his parts and expansions of the Lord are automatically worshipped. Sarvarhanam Achyuteja. That's Bhagavatam 4th Canto 31:14. Krishna is known as Achyuta. Senayor Bayor Mahadya Ratam Stapayame Chuta. That's Bhagavad Gita 1:21. By worshipping Achyuta, Krishna, one automatically worships all the demigods. There is no need of separately worshipping either the Vishnu Tattva or Jiva Tattva. If one concentrates upon Krishna, one worships everyone. Therefore, because Mother Devaki gave birth to Krishna, she is described here as Sarva Devata. all the gods. So in the first verse that I read today, which is the 18th, Krishna says, since I cannot find anyone equal to me, I shall personally expand myself into a plenary portion, and thus advent myself in the womb of Meru Devi, the wife of Maharaj Navi, the son of Agnidra. So this is an incarnation where it's himself. It's not Jiva Tattva. Like, for example, Buddha, another avatar, is Jiva Tattva. However, according to this explanation, Rishabhadev is going to be a plenary portion of Krishna. And the Brahmins also, they wanted the world to know that there is no one equal to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one without a second. Now, in the next verse, Sukadeva Goswami continued, after saying this, the Lord disappeared. Now, this is a common occurrence, that the Lord will show up at a particular event, although rarely he appears himself, but he appeared. He appeared himself to Dhruva Maharaj and to Narada Muni, and if we remember the story correctly, at a certain point, he just disappeared. Didn't say goodbye, gave a high five, look at his watch. He was gone. I don't know why. Maybe because Krishna is described as a dramatic actor, he likes to appear in costume. Like when Krishna appeared 5,100 and some years ago, he actually disguised himself as a regular being. Of course, he performed extraordinary activities on occasion, but he actually didn't show up with all this regalia and all these crowns and all this stuff that will make him look totally different. He actually disguised himself as a regular being. He wanted to be part of a scene, and if you appear with all the royalty and divinity, obviously he won't be seen as the rest. And this is useful instruction to us, that we have to blend in. If we want Krishna consciousness to expand, to be taken seriously, we cannot just present a show that people cannot relate to. We have to actually first be appreciated for who we are as persons, and then people will listen to us and take us seriously. In this verse that I read, this talks about the wife of King Nabi, King Meru Devi. She was sitting by the side of her husband. Consequently, she could hear everything the Supreme Lord had spoken. It's not like Krishna discriminated. Oh no, she's a woman, she can't listen to this stuff. And in the Purport, Prabhupada says that according to Vedic injunctions, one should perform sacrifices in the company of one's own wife. Sapatniko dharmam acharit. Religious rituals should be performed with one's wife. Therefore, Maharaj Navi conducted his great sacrifice with his wife by his side. I have something to read to you. Chanakya Pandit said that religious austerities should be performed as if one was going to die immediately. And business should be performed as if one was going to live forever. That's a side note there. I want to read to you from Vishaka Devi's book, the 5 years, 11 months. I don't know if any of you has read this book, but it's is notably very well written. And we have devotees writing all sorts of books, and not all of them are that great, literarily speaking. But this is one of those who is incredibly well written. So it's not only the stories that are told, because the title, 5 years, 11 months, that's the time that Vishaka spent with Prabhupada. And at this point, Vishaka is not a devotee, and she makes it very clear that she's not a devotee. So she has no intention of joining or practicing anything, although is slowly getting into it. And obviously it's the influence of Prabhupada. And some of the devotees, some are a little out there, and some are right on point. So I'll read some things from here. One hazy morning, a few days, and you see how it ties up with the verse. One hazy morning, a few days after we moved in, this is Yaduvar, then John, and Vishaka, then Jean. They were in Vrindavan because they wanted to. They were photographers, and they were already published, both of them, and they wanted to do a story on the village life, the rural life of India. And they eventually met Prabhupada, and they asked Prabhupada what's a good example of this ideal village life in India. And Prabhupada said, you're going to be, and this has just happened. They happened to ask this after they were pickpocketed and robbed of all their possessions, pretty much. And Prabhupada said, you're going to be cheated wherever you go. They're going to see you, and they're going to just take advantage of you. So just go to Vrindavan. So that's what they did. They went to Vrindavan. And Vrindavan started to change. I mean, Yaduvar was becoming very interested in Krishna consciousness, whereas Vishaka was just skeptic, complete skeptic. And she had an incredible amount of doubts. But they went to Vrindavan, and Vrindavan started eroding these doubts that Vishaka had. She was falling in love with Vrindavan. So the Gurudas, at the time was Yamuna's husband, they wanted to publish I think it may have been the first Vyasa Puja offering in a form of a book. And they wanted, because they had experience in publishing, he asked John and Jane to go to Calcutta to oversee the printing, to do proofreading and materials and et cetera, And Vishaka was torn because she was becoming very attached to Vrindavan. She was having a change of heart, and her psyche was actually shifting, but they agreed to do it. So they left for Vrindavan, and they stayed. They left Vrindavan for Calcutta, and they stayed in the ashram. I think it is 3 Albert Road, a temple I've been to. It was in a kind of removed a little bit from the city, even though it was in a regular neighborhood. There was a park across the street with a lake. A nice place. One hazy morning, a few days after we'd moved in, the other ashram residents and I were sitting in a circle of a spacious veranda. One by one, each person was taking a turn reading a passage from Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is, and briefly commenting on it. Usually during such sessions, out of a combination of unbelief and diffidence, I'd excuse myself. But this day, I stayed. And for me, on this day, a bomb dropped. The final reading of the morning was one of Prabhupada's purports in the Gita's first chapter. According to the sage Chanakya Pandit, women are not very intelligent generally, and therefore not trustworthy. So the different family traditions of religious activities should always engage them, and thus their chastity and devotion would give birth to a good population. Outrage. I exploded inside. So this is another patriarchal religion that oppresses and represses women. My man screamed. Keeps them barefoot and pregnant, cooking and cleaning. What was I doing in a place where women were denigrated and subjugated? I wonder about Yamuna's and Kausalya's and Chitraleka's sanity, the women that she shared the ashram with and was becoming friendly with. The class over, I immediately leaned over and asked Kausalya, what's with this less intelligent statement? It makes no sense. In my school, the girls did as well as boys, sometimes better. Even as I said it, I thought of my brilliant brother, but he was exceptional. To my surprise, Kausalya threw her head back and laughed, her carefree, cast-off, all problems laugh. I had the same reaction when I first heard that, she said. I was ready to forget the whole philosophy. But then I went a little deeper. There are different types of intelligence. And so in Sanskrit, there are different words that are translated as intelligence. One is buddhi, which refers not to a person's IQ, but to his or her ability to discriminate between matter and spirit. Buddhi means having analytical, discerning knowledge and is associated with male intelligence. But another Sanskrit word for intelligence is medha, which refers to mental vigor and power, wisdom, prudence, and nourishment. Medha means the intellect illumined by love and is associated with female intelligence. I don't know, I said, looking closely at her. Are you trying to rationalize away sexism and male chauvinism? Instead of answering right away, Kausalya flipped to a statement in one of the Gita's later chapters where Krishna says, among women, I am Medha. Women's thinking tend to be less analytical than men's, she said. And in general, women work more on an emotional level, more with their hearts. Women often have a quality of heart and a type of intelligence men lack, which is why women often take more interest in spiritual matters than men. I was still doubtful. Was I being appeased? Was this an extension of my high school days where cruel, mean students killed the life in me every day with their scorn and smugness? Only now women were confusing men's condescendence for transcendence. Kausalya laughed again. I was in exactly the place you were, she said. And with that, she showed me another purport in another book where Prabhupada had written, the Lord is so kind that he does not show special favor only to one who is a great philosopher. He knows the sincerity of purpose. For this reason only, women generally assemble in great numbers in any sort of religious function. In every country and in every sect of religion, it appears that the women are more interested than the men. This simplicity of acceptance of the Lord's authority is more effective than showy, insincere religious fervor. But still, I said, won't describing women as less intelligent be taken in the wrong way? Won't women be angry, just as I was? And won't men get the wrong idea? Yeah, both those things happen, unfortunately, Kausalya said. They happen too often. The next morning, my fears and her words were confirmed. Again, we were sitting in a circle on the veranda, taking turns reading Prabhupada's Gita when Chitraleka received the book. Immediately, Revatinandan Swami said, I'd rather not hear from a woman. Got up and sauntered out. Prabhupada wants women as well as men to speak, Achyutananda Swami said to Revatinandan as departing back. Confusion ensued. Our group reading came to a sloppy end and the devotees dispersed, leaving me sitting alone on the veranda, confused and disgusted. Was this man so weirdly uptight because he thought himself superior to women? Did his unbearably patriarchal understanding came from thinking himself more intelligent? What did his attitude have to do with spiritual life? I looked for Chitralekha, but it wasn't until several hours later that I found her. What did you think about the reading session? I asked. Chitralekha was petite, with a full moon face and gentle, large, thoughtful eyes, beautiful in their truthfulness. Prabhupada encourages all his students to be all that we can be for Krishna. His mood is the opposite of the repressive, oppressive, suppressive, compressive mood of some of his followers, she said. Where did you go after the reading? I went to pick flowers to make a garland for Prabhupada. She spoke with warmth and a delightfully confidential and enthusiastic tone. What an extraordinary response to sexism, I thought. Revatinandan Swami was grave, scholarly, austere, and hardworking, and always either instructing others or busy setting a good example. He was also a young man attempting celibacy. Women threatened him, and he responded, it seemed to me, by pretending that sexism was spiritual staunchness. Struggling to silence his secret voice of lust, camouflaging his weak and flabby ego with haughtiness, he was evading his countless fears and force-feeding himself into believing his own lie, that he was an honorable renouncer. How stressed he must be. I felt sorry for him, disturbed by what he subjected the devotees to and dismayed that no one checked him. So this is to say that men and women are partners in spiritual life. They're simply spirit souls in different bodies with different functions, with different tendencies. But ultimately, the truth is that they both have the same engagement, which is to worship the Supreme Lord the best they can and be the best they can be. So, since today is the first day of the retreat, and we have 80 people coming and we all have a lot to do, I'm going to stop here and give just a few moments for questions, comments, and other such things.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for a nice class.
Hare Prabhu, are you speaking? I can't hear anything.
I sure am speaking, and hoping you can hear me. Are you not hearing me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. I thank you for a nice class. I was curious to know where you were going to take this one, and it's always interesting. I've never been able to predict which way you're going to go. You always surprise me. Anyway, it's always a pleasant surprise. It's nice to hear something from Vishaka's book. She's an extraordinary personality. Speaking of intelligence, she's an unusually intelligent individual. She's quite bright, as is her husband. They're both quite bright.
Actually, I did ask. I told Yarubar, I'm intimidated by your wife, and he said, "So am I."
Yeah, I think I had that discussion with him as well. I always found her intimidating.
Actually, I had an exchange with her yesterday. As this is a year ago, I requested her to talk to us, to give class, and she said she's too busy. As most of you may know, she is the temple president in the Bhaktivedanta Manor in England, And she said she has way too much service and she couldn't do that. Then I wrote her a couple of days ago and said, well, it's been a year, maybe we'll reconsider. And also I wanted to tell you that I've been reading your book, and it's wonderfully written. And we don't have that many good writers in the movement. We have a lot of writers, but we don't have a lot of good writers. People write without much training or taste. It shows. And I said I was running a literary magazine when I was in my teens, and then I wrote for a newspaper, and I used to write all sorts of things, and very well read. I read the classics and Kafka and Joyce and Beckett and Hemingway and everybody else, for and that incredible, copious, numerous amount of books will just run through my fingers, reading no less than 20 or 25 books at the same time, without even marking the pages. That was when I had the memory. And for no less than 300 books a year. I was so voracious in my reading. And so I can somehow or other, if that is any qualification, I can qualify myself to say that you're an excellent writer and you should continue. You should, if this is your memoir, this is only the memoir when you were with Prabhupada, but I would like to hear from you about afterwards, what happened after Prabhupada left, and about, you can even write fiction, whatever you want to write. I will definitely read it. So she was very kind, modestly accepting the praise, and asked me to write a review on the Amazon page for the book. And she hasn't yet responded to my request for her to speak to us. And I imagine that she will decline again. Okay, sorry, that was a little tidbit.
Prabhu, I had a question which is it's maybe a little challenging, but there is it's a lengthy comment in the chat. Maybe I should just let to that, but I'll let you be the judge. My question was, Prabhupada a few times makes reference to a second. Curious to know what your understanding is of that that phrase, one without a second. What does that mean precisely? How is Krishna one without a second?
Well, in my limited understanding is that there is Vishnu Tattva. There is, and even among the Vishnu Tattva is, we can say, well, the original candle can lit up similar candles and go all the way, as many candles as you want. But this is not the case, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead is one without a second. There is no substitute, there is no cloning, there is no, there are expansions, but they are not the original. Just like, I don't know, as I can't think of anything but a bad example, just like when you need a memory chip to expand the memory on your computer, you can get the original, which is meant for the computer, or you can get a Chinese replacement, which is, like a battery, for example. The original battery usually lasts a lot longer than the other batteries that they are sold in the aftermarket. Same with a part for a vehicle. I used to have a BMW, and I will get original parts because I knew they were better. They were made either in France or in Germany, and other aftermarket parts will work. but they won't work as well and they won't last as long. So I don't know. This is a bad analogy. Again, I preface my statement by saying that. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not replaceable, is not exchangeable, is not, is the original is the best you're going to get. And other expansions are not up to that level. Is the we hear the verse of Prabhupada chose as the formula for peace, where Krishna is the supreme friend, the supreme benefactor, the supreme enjoyer, and others are not. So I understand, I simply see this as an explanation that God is unique, that, yeah, there may be expansions and there may be full, partial expansions, incarnations, but it's not the original. The original has characteristics, just like in the Nectar of Devotion is described that Krishna has 4 characteristics that no other expansion has. And, talks about percentages, what's the percentage of qualities that the living entities have, and et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not sure I can solve that philosophically and explain to you to your full satisfaction, but to me it simply means that the original cannot be replaced, cannot be imitated, cannot be does Krishna have the power to make someone equal to himself? Yeah, he does. It wouldn't be God if he wasn't, but he chooses not to, which is his prerogative, one without a second. So he's originally in his thinking as well. Anyway, I don't know if I got very far. There is a comment here by Yasudev Prabhu in the chat. I will read it out loud. Sometimes jealous persons criticize, this is from a Chaitanya Charitamrita, from a purport in the Adi Leela 7:31-32. Sometimes jealous persons criticize the Krishna consciousness movement because it engages equally both boys and girls in distributing love of Godhead, not knowing that boys and girls in countries like Europe and America mix very freely. These fools and rascals criticize the boys and girls in Krishna consciousness for intermingling. But these rascals should consider that one cannot suddenly change a community's social customs. However, since both the boys and the girls are being trained to become preachers, those girls are not ordinary girls, but are as good as their brothers who are preaching Krishna consciousness. Therefore, to engage both boys and girls in fully transcendental activities is a policy intended to spread the Krishna consciousness movement. These jealous fools who criticize the intermingling of boys and girls would simply have to be satisfied with their own foolishness because they cannot think of how to spread Krishna consciousness by adopting ways and means that are favorable for this purpose. Their stereotype methods will never help spread Krishna consciousness. Therefore, what we are doing is perfect by the grace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, for it is he who proposed to invent a way to capture those who stay strayed from Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada is talking obviously about his god brothers and other Indian Brahmins that criticize him for doing that. They criticize him for crossing the ocean. Like, the kryptonite for sannyasis is to cross the ocean. You lose your powers. But obviously, Prabhupada didn't lose any power. On the contrary, he became more established as the Shakti Vaishavatar that he is. All right. We are coming to the end. Excuse me. Again, we have a lot to do as the retreat begins today. So thank you very much for your attention and kindness, and we'll see you with the next Bhagavatam class. By the way, I have sent a schedule for Bhagavatam classes and other, actually I'm going to add some more, as today I got confirmation from Giriraj Swami, who is going to speak to us on April 22nd at 6:30 in the afternoon. Also on the 27th, I believe, 27th is a Friday. Instead of me giving class, it's going to be Sachinandan Swami. And also we have Chiti Shakti on the 30th and Vishwambara Prabhu from England on the 23rd. Anyway, it's on the schedule, and Sadashiva Prabhu from Germany, etc., etc. So we have an action-packed month of Bhagavatam classes and other classes, and I've been asking other friends as well. Okay, I have a note saying 22nd is the wedding. Yes, it is the wedding. But okay, I'm going to have to change that since the class is in the afternoon. All right, thank you, Jagannath Pandit Prabhu. And there is a purport quoted by Taraka Prabhu from Bhagavatam 2:622. He is the one without a second, displaying complete unity in a diversity of material and spiritual manifestations. He's separate from everything, and still nothing is different from him. There you go. So you know the answer to your own question. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Hari Hari Bol.